So we are here with yet another Once Upon a Book Club. This is the May box. Now it came to me a little awkward. The side flaps were taped outside and it was packaged really weird. It almost looked like it busted open and the post office had retaped it. But when I opened it up to make sure that everything was fine, there's a really long object in here. So I'm thinking that it was done on purpose at the warehouse that it was packed at. For May, we have Mastering the Art of French Murder, an American in Paris mystery by Colleen Cambridge. Now, Once Upon a Book Club basically made a special edition for this book. So we can see on the far side, we have the dust jacket has the Once Upon a Book Club logo at the bottom. And then they also sprayed edged this book. So we have a knife and it turns to red, and then the bottom is also soaked in red, which is a very nice detail. And then on the back, we have, it could have been any one of them, but it had to be one of them. We've got a felt book with red foiling and a cross-stitch pattern, the spine. And then I really love the back here with a knife. And then when we open her up, the end pages have a skull and crossbones chef here, which is really cute. Every Once Upon a Book Club comes with this package of goodies or paper goods, a signed book plate, and then the quote card for this one is going to be a recipe for a perfect murder mystery, and it's on the bookmark as well. We have recipe for the perfect murder mystery, 1 cup of mystery, 1 quirky detective, a sprinkle of fingerprints, a dash of deception, a splash of suspicion, 3 suspects, add more to taste, half a cup of possible murder weapons, and a 4th cup of intrigue. Mix well and allow detectives' theories to simmer until the last page. Remove from oven and present your accusations in a dramatic final reveal. And then we have the booklet for the month, which contains discussions with the author, book club questions, and then the back for this one is a recipe for Julia Child's mayonnaise. So our first package is going to be an oblong cylinder with the skull and crossbones shape. It's going to be on page 62. I'm going to guess that this is going to be like a poster or like recipe papers or something like that. Our next page is small, packaged in a little bag with knives on it. And that's page 223. In here, a bottle opener keychain. That's what I'm gonna guess. And then our last oblong thing, which is why the box was sent weird, is gonna be on page 257. It's wrapped in green with forks, spoons, and knives, and it's in a plastic box. I'm just hoping that it's not word art. We are following Tabitha, who's moved from Detroit to Paris to go to the same cooking school that Julia Child is currently at. I think this is before Julia Child is famous, though, as she's still in school here. And they stumble into a murder, and it looks like the murder, Tabitha's the main suspect because for some reason there's a note found in the dead woman's pocket with Tabitha's handwriting. So we've got a chef murder mystery in Paris. It said something about the Eiffel Tower. Let's dive in. I'll return at page 62. Hopefully I won't finish half the book before I check in again. Okay, so we're back and we're on page 62 of Mastering the Art of French Murder. This is indeed a murder mystery book where we follow Julia Child and her best friend Tabitha. And I want to reiterate, just like the author did, that this is a completely fake story. Completely fake story. Completely fake story. Completely fake story. So Tabitha is in France living with her grandpa and her totally gay uncle. Like they're, grandpa and uncle totally gay together. And they are across the street from Julia and her husband Paul and her sister Dorothy. Dort. And Dorothy throws these parties for the theater afterwards, and Julia and Paul Child are like never at the party, and they get annoyed because the party always drinks all of their alcohol, right? So we have found the body, and it is this person who has been stabbed with Julia Child's knife and has a note saying Tabitha's name and where she lives, because Tabitha teaches English lessons. Anyway, we aren't that far into it. At most, we have been given a list of suspects, which is everyone that was at Dort's party at the time. So we have Julia and Paul, who were presumably asleep, Dort, who was hosting, our main character Tabitha, who left at the same time as the murdered girl, some dude named Mark, Ivan, who Dort is crushing on, Johnny, which we don't know anything about, Thad, and Neil. And all of those were the people at the party. But Mathilda, the maid for the Childs, was the one who discovered the body and was potentially the last one to see the knife. So it's totally the maid, right? Trope of the butler did it. It's probably not going to be Julia or Dort or Paul because, we can't take those risks. But I'm betting on Julia. It's way too early to know exactly who did it. So yeah. Anyway, we are on page 62 and the quote for this is, Julia's currently in the oven cooking to get her mind off of the murder that happened at her doorstep. And the quote is, "She flipped over the dough and continued to roll it with angry vigor, then stopped abruptly and looked down at the poor pastry. 'I'm going to do my own form of murder here,' she murmured, then tisked." It's a little too small for a rolling pin. Let's cut off this tape. Julia's baking mat. BPA free, dishwasher safe, and oven safe up to 480 degrees. Use your baking mat to knead and roll out bread or light a cookie sheet for mess-free baking. Honey, that's parchment paper. Okay. Oh, cute. Let me get it all the way out of its packaging and then I will show it to you. So here we have a silicone baking sheet that has Agatha Christie's and then there were none book cover on it. So that's really cool. I really like this. And I am a baker myself actually, so from now on it is our task to suspect each and every one amongst us. So we will return for the next update at page 223. Just woke up, hair, don't care. So we're back at page 223. We are pretty much really close to being done with this book. If we look at the bookmark, we're almost done. We're all the way through the knife. And we're also at the climactic part where the person investigating has now put themselves in a dangerous situation to figure out who the actual final people are. We've got this thing with Russian spies going on. It's really fun. So one of my problems with this is that it's supposed to be a long running one. So this is the first Murder in Paris or whatever. So we're getting a lot of stuff that is not super important to the plot, it seems like. And then I also really like this one because we're not super involved with the police. Like, we know that their investigation is going on in the background, but this detective we hardly ever see any of, and when we do, he's like, I suspect you, Tabitha. One thing that I don't like is that we've entirely written off, like, I understand why we've written off Julia, Paul, and Dort, but we've also entirely written off the person that Dort was making out with for most of the thing, so we don't suspect Ivan at all in the book. And I've made some notes. A lot of our information comes from early on. I think the thing seems a little too heavily stacked against Mark, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is Mark, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, hey, it was too stacked against Mark. Of course it's not Mark. Thad has also made a couple of mistakes. Neil was the one that I was most, like, suspicious of because we haven't gotten a lot of him, and he used specific words, and he was the one that had scuffy shoes at the beginning, but we haven't had much of him. There's also been another murder. At this point, I don't think it's going to be some random person that we've never heard of. Like, don't you hate when mystery books do that, where it's just like, you were suspecting all of these people when really it was someone we met in the third act. Ha ha ha. I don't think that's going to happen. It seems like we know who these people are that are talking in this hard predicament. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on with page 223. The quote is, finally I took a chance and huddled into the recessed door as far as I could. Gripping the keyring between my teeth, I held the flashlight by cupping my hand over the front of it to block the light. I was able to turn it on with my free hand, then take up the keys. Sorry if I have a little bit of a lisp. I super bit my tongue yesterday. So I think I was right about the keyring on this one. Let's open her up. Boom. Oh, that's cute. It's a cute little, like, plastic keychain. It's like peach. It says, follow me to the bookstore. Let me see if I can do this right. It just says, follow me to the bookstore. There's a little scuff on mine, but that's fine. It looks like the paint will fade pretty quickly on this. So cute little keychain. I don't really use keychains. I don't like my keys being all that clunky. So I will not get any use of this, but I know that a lot of other people would. So I will be back to open the last thing at the end of the book because the last package is on like page 257 of a 259 page book. See you then. You're gonna like this next gift though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what it is. You're gonna like it. It's in this box. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Add that in the video.
So we are done with the book. It is a nice, cozy mystery. There are no real twists or turns. Julia Child is a character in here, and by character I mean she's a character. She makes all of the scenes lively. It's pretty easy read. It's pretty light. There are no real consequences. Like, there are a few tense scenes, but there's no real, I think something bad is gonna happen to our main girl feelings. Anyway, can't say much more without spoiling the whole thing, so let's go ahead and get into this last little gift here. 2 pages before the end of the book, the line is, "Oh, thank heavens," spoken by Julia Child. "Oh, thank heavens, how I've missed you, dear, dear Chef Snipe. What an awful experience he has had, hasn't he?" And this is the inspector returning Julia Child's knife to her, because now the case has been solved and it doesn't need to be in evidence. So we're thinking this is a knife. Oh, those are cool. So we've got a chef's knife, a cleaver, and a paring knife. They've all got words on them. I think that's... Yeah, they've all got words printed on them. Green handles. Pretty. How I've missed you, dear, dear knife. Knives are hand wash only, as all knives should be. So the cleaver. We're actually really excited for this. We don't have one of these yet. They'll probably need a sharpening, but they'll probably be really good. Chef's knife. Paring knife. So this book was a cozy mystery. I gave it 3 stars. This is kind of mid. I'll probably forget about it after a couple other reads. It didn't do anything new or exciting except for take place post World War II with Julia Child as one of the supporting characters. And we also kind of have like one of those not like other girls main characters. She even says it at the end of the book that she's just not like one of those girls. Based off of the historical footnote from the author, she wanted to explore the women who were in factory jobs building airplanes during the war, and then when the war was over, they went back to their regular lives and how they did that and how they managed that. I don't know if she touched on that really at all, except for Tabitha occasionally being like, I used to be a Rosie the Riveter, and I carry a Swiss Army knife, and I wear trousers. But other than that, we didn't really get any deep diving into anything. We didn't explore anything. It was just a nice, cozy little mystery with a little bit of cooking from Julia Child in the background. If you want to know who murdered the people, stay tuned after the little end credit puppet crawl. It was Mark, but it was also Thad. They were Russian spies.